3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's just 5, you silly cunt. I have questions with them. This week's special guest will blow your mind because he's from Hull. He's a successful, famous documentary filmmaker. From Hull, can you believe it? And anyway, he's been all over the world. He's made films all over the world. He's travelled all over the world to festivals with his award-winning films and that. He was even nominated for a BAFTA. Can you fucking believe it? Any road, please welcome Sean Mcallister.
Hi Brenda, it's really great to be on the show, and I'm really looking forward to answering some of your questions. It's very rainy here in Hull at the moment. I'm just up at my parents', and I've positioned myself purposely next to a poster of a film of mine as a kind of proper backdrop, as what you're supposed to do in interviews. So I think that's looking quite professional enough to say, let's go to the first question, Brenda.
Question 1, Sean. Now, let me just take you back to when you were a young boy, and you were probably an altar boy, standing behind the priest in his cassock, probably trying to work out how you could steal some wine, or maybe some communion hearse to eat afterwards when you had a cigarette on the back. At that point in your life, when you were daydreaming in those long, boring Catholic masses, what did you imagine you might do with your life?
Oh gosh, yeah, the altars was a funny time, really. Me and Kieran Lyons, who sadly passed on, but a schoolmate of mine, we were both altar boys together, and we'd have some good times on the altar. Did 7 o'clock, when we were really into it, we did the 7 o'clock morning mass and the 7 p.m. mass. I think that's when church was real popular. What did I want to do? I had no real idea. I was just an altar boy having a bit of a laugh, getting dressed up and doing all sorts of wrongful things. I don't know, really. I didn't really have any. Do you know what? I never really thought about what I wanted to do. It was only when I went after that, I suppose after school, into a factory, that I knew what I didn't want to do. And then I went off into on the dole. Actually, had a good time on the dole in the 80s. And then and that's when I kind of came across a great community centre in Hull on Fountain Road, and I picked up a video camera and I started messing about filming all the nutcases, including Kieran Lyons and all my mates. And from filming my mates, I started to make little films, and then I applied to film school. And actually, one ambition, I suppose, was to leave Hull.
Now, Sean, on to question 2. What I'd like to know is what made you decide to make films? I mean, of all the things you could do, I mean, you could have been a glockenspiel specialist, or you could have been a gardener, or you could have strived to look after baby pandas or something like that. But you decided to make films and go to film school. So what was it about films that made you, think that's for me? That's for me, eh?
Well, I couldn't have been a gardener, and I wasn't very handy. Like my mates, like Andy Sawyer, were quite practical, and I was just crap in a factory. I just didn't take to physical manual work. I just wasn't very good at it. So I wasn't very good at that. I wasn't very good at hanging around doing fuck all on the dole either. I would always be doing something, and I liked travelling, and I'd work in the summer at the pea factory and the bird's eye pea season, spend the money travelling around and just, signing on, getting the dole, travelling, and trying to just work out really I knew what I didn't want to do. And I guess it was through characters, funny people, and having a good crack with characters on boring shifts in factories. I made my first documentary, full proper documentary, in the pea factory with Brian, pushing the peas on the hopper every night and filming away the kind of characters around me. And then I just thought, well, actually, try and inhabit a lifestyle you want with a little camera in your pocket and do what you want without a crew. You're pretty much independent. It's almost like people think you're working, but they're actually just giving you a budget to fuck off and have a laugh, really. And that's how I try to get away with it, and sometimes even sneak into the BAFTAs and do the same thing there.
So, your film career has been a great success from the off, really, hasn't it? You know, you've been all over the world. You've made films in places like Japan, Syria, Iraq. You know, you've been in some of them really fucking scary places and had some really scary experiences, I imagine. Now, you know, maybe you could tell us something about your scary experiences. And I wonder if you could tell us if that's why you always come back to old spec films, which is probably one of the most boring places on earth with its fucking bandstand and its bleeding cenotaph.
Yeah, Hull. I used to come back from places. I remember when I was filming in Iraq, Ken Bigley had just been beheaded and it was falling apart around us and the hotel was coming under attack and my roommate was kidnapped and held up on television every night with his fucking orange thing and threatening to cut his head off and all of this stuff was happening around me and I was thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? And I remember coming back to being on Bernsey or something on the radio here in Hull. And they were saying like the same thing about how scary it must be. And I sort of said, well, it is scary, but I'd still rather do that than take a camera onto the streets of Hull on a Saturday night. And I used to joke, but sort of semi-joke and be semi-serious that there's nothing more scary than, at that time, Hull cheese at around about kick-out time on a Friday or Saturday night was far, far scarier than Saddam's Iraq or Syria or Yemen. Yeah, I don't know. It's I think when you're from Hull, you can kind of travel those places because you've seen it all on a Saturday night and there's fuck all more scary than that. I mean, yeah. Some of those jihadists need to come to Hull, really, don't they, and check out this place. That'd quieten them down a bit.
So this is like a two-tiered question, and it's question 4. So what I want to know, Sean, is when you got nominated for a BAFTA for your film A Syrian Love Story, which is fabulous, how did you feel? Did you open the envelope and collapse on the floor crying and wailing? Or was it an email you got and you just opened it and you just ignored it really, meant to put the kettle on? Did you bring your family? Did you scream? What did you do? And what was it like when you actually went to the awards ceremony? Did you meet loads of celebrities and did you get drunk? You know, what did you do?
Well, BAFTA was something else, yeah. I mean, we got notified and suddenly the phone started ringing. I was on interviews and this and that. And, you know, we'd led a big campaign and it was this film that finally did it. After 5 years of making, it felt like we climbed a mountain, really. It was amazing. And then we went to pick the goodie bag up at BAFTA in Piccadilly, which was full of amazing goodies, BAFTA tea and BAFTA champagne and soap and all sorts of perfumes and stuff I can't even remember. And then went to the gala, the awards thing. We didn't win, we got nominated. Someone else always wins. Idris Elba at the table. Who else? I can't remember. On the red carpet, Kate Winslet. Tom Courtney I went to speak to about some gig in Hull, but I was a bit pissed and I think he just gave me the cold shoulder. And then, you know, champagne all the way, just big, huge magnums of champagne and everybody just or maybe it was just the Hull boy, completely pissed. And, yeah, it was mental. Harvey Weinstein's party afterwards. I didn't go to that. I wasn't invited, fortunately, but it was wonderful.
Well, Sean, can you fucking believe it? It's question 5 already. It's absolutely flown by today. And I once again to take this opportunity to thank you so much for participating in 5 Questions to Brenda. It's been an absolute honour to have you here. And particularly as we're both from Hull, I mean, we've actually related, aren't we? So what I'm going to do now is ask a question that I ask to all my guests. So be prepared to have a lump in your throat, maybe a tear in your eye. But I just want you to picture that young boy who was an altar boy stood on the altar as he looks up at our Lord Jesus Christ on the cross. If you could sneak behind the altar and whisper in his ear and just tell him one wise thing, what would you tell that very young Sean Mcallister, Sean?
Well, Brenda, it's been a delightful time on your wonderful show. I've really, truly enjoyed it. My first interview in lockdown, I haven't been doing that many interviews, and so it's been really nice to connect with someone back in Hull, an important interview. What would I say to myself on the altar 30 years ago? I'd probably say to myself, get the fuck out of here quick before you end up like all these fuckers behind you. stuck coming here every day. And that's what I did. I got out and saved myself. But, you know, I'm here with my mum. She's 95. She still believes in God. In fact, the priest has been round today to give her Holy Communion. So, you know, once an altar boy, you're somehow always an altar boy, aren't you? Brenda, it's been a delight. A Syrian love story is behind me. I'll say goodbye. Thank you very much.
See you next week. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to go to my Instagram, Brenda_the_shapeshifter. Bye.